Alright, we're live on both platforms. Set this recording up. Actual setup with this here. Um, Alright. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to the That's Debatable podcast. Hope you all are having a great day. And if you're not, hopefully you're here so I can cheer you back up. We got some stuff to talk about. A lot of basketball today, too. We have to talk about some football. We have Friday Night SmackDown tonight. We're going to be going through that. Might be another 20-minute podcast. It seems that I go through things pretty fast by myself. Even though I talk a lot, it still happens to be a 25-minute podcast. So I apologize for that. If I have somebody on here, I might maybe get Ethan back on here if you guys want me to. I'll get a few people on here one day. Maybe next week, like I was saying, when I do my Elimination Chamber predictions, I'll have a couple people on. But for now, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about some stuff, some sports, like we always do. No TV shows today. I should have some TV show coverage or movie coverage coming soon, though. Send me movies you guys want me to watch, TV shows you'd like me to watch so I can review them. Maybe sometimes I'll do a separate podcast just for them. Sometimes, but a lot of the time I'll just do it on here. Especially because sometimes on this podcast it's shorter sometimes. But anyway, let's get into the first question of the day. So we have to start off with this. J.J. Watt has been released from the Texans by choice. He requested to get released because I know a lot of people, when they saw a lot of these sport social media platforms, they didn't be specific. They just said J.J. Watt has been released, and everyone's like, why would you release J.J. Watt? But there was one, ESPN was actually more specific. They said J.J. Watt has been released by request. So that's what happened. So my reaction to this is I'm happy for J.J. Watt. And I know a lot of people are like, well, the Texans are in trouble now. J.J. Watt's in trouble now. I don't think so. I think this is good for both the Texans and J.J. Watt. Because J.J. Watt, he has a couple years left in the NFL. He's not young anymore. A lot of people are like, he's the greatest player in Texans franchise history. There's no getting around that. He could be. I think he is. But he's getting older now. He needs to go to a place that he can win. Maybe a place like Tampa Bay wants him, or the Chiefs, or the Seattle, or maybe the Rams, somewhere that he can win. The 49ers even, somewhere that he can go. They might not even, the Texans might not even have a star quarterback anymore by the time the 2021 season is here. Deshaun Watson might be gone. And I think he should be gone because he wants to get out of there, just like how J.J. Watt has been released now. So I think they should do the same with Deshaun Watson, because now J.J. Watt's gone. What does Deshaun Watson have left to do there now, especially? So I think that J.J. Watt is tired of playing the defensive end position there in Houston. And, Houston has a lot of problems there. And I'm happy for J.J. Watt that he's finally out of Houston, because he deserves so much better for a guy that, only has a couple of years left. And he needs to win. He needs to go to a place that he can win, like the Chiefs, the Bucks, the Seattle Seahawks, the 49ers, somewhere like that. Anywhere he can go just so he can win, because that's what he needs right now at this point in time in his career. So in my opinion, this is a very good move for both the Texans and J.J. Watt. And I know a lot of other people are not looking at it that way, but in my opinion, that's how I'm looking at it right now, that this is very good for both of them. So yeah, I am very happy with this decision. I'm happy for J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt's one of my favorite NFL players. I love watching him play, and I'm happy that he's getting out of Houston, because that was just not the place for him. So next question: Did Patrick Mahomes have a better season than Tom Brady? And yeah, Patrick Mahomes had a better season than Tom Brady. I believe he was a higher MVP candidate than Tom Brady was, but at the end of the day, sometimes that doesn't always matter. But when you look at the numbers, Patrick Mahomes had a better season. But when they went up against each other in the Super Bowl, it was the offensive line of the Chiefs that was just, it wasn't there. They had no offensive line, and you're not gonna win a Super Bowl, or a game rather, without an offensive line. It's just not gonna happen. So I think even if you switched quarterback positions, the Bucks would still win. Like if Patrick Mahomes played for the Bucks and Tom Brady played for the Chiefs, I think the Bucks still win because the Chiefs don't have an offensive line. You're not going to win without an offensive line. So, but Patrick Mahomes throughout the season did have a better season than Tom Brady. Tom Brady at point in time where I was like, I might have to jump off the Tampa Bay bandwagon, at which I did when they went up against Green Bay in the NFC Championship game. And, I'm regretting that a little bit now. But Patrick Mahomes played way better because there were points in the season where we looked at Tom Brady and we were like, he's not the same anymore. That's what we looked at him as during the season. And Patrick Mahomes, you're like, man, if this guy goes up against Tom Brady in Super Bowl, he's going to beat him. That's how good Patrick Mahomes is. They call him the young GOAT, even though I don't want to hear that anymore. I don't want to hear Patrick Mahomes in the GOAT conversation anymore after the performance he put up in the Super Bowl. I just don't want to hear it. So, but I think throughout the season, yes, Patrick Mahomes did have a better season than Tom Brady. So, yeah, like I said, even if they swapped positions, like they went to the other team and, Brady went to the Chiefs and they faced each other, the Bucks would still win because, the Chiefs don't have an offensive line, and you're not going to win without an offensive line. So next question, going on to basketball now. So KD or Harden, which of those players is under the most pressure? And it's James Harden. James Harden is under the most pressure out of those two. And it's because KD and Kyrie have a ring. Those two have rings. James Harden doesn't. The guy only has a few years left in the NBA, and he still hasn't won a ring. Still not. KD and Kyrie can retire, and, they'll be Hall of Famers for sure, 100%. Now, I'm not saying James Harden won't be because, like I've said countless times, these three are future Hall of Famers without a doubt. But it's going to be harder to induct, James Harden into the Hall of Fame if he doesn't have a ring. So this season, as James Harden is a Brooklyn Net, actually, is under the most pressure then out of all these three guys, not just KD and Harden. Out of all three of them, or better yet, the whole team, right? But the big three, James Harden is under the most pressure. He said earlier today that he was tired of carrying the Rockets' load, passing more and his points lowering doesn't bother him at all. Playmaking for his teammates is what he wants to do, and he said he was tired of carrying that load in Houston, and we all knew he was. We all knew it was just a matter of time before James Harden left, and all of a sudden he requested trade, and everybody's surprised. I wasn't surprised because I knew it. I saw it coming. He was carrying the load, and everybody that he tried calling in wasn't working out, so he had to get out of there. But he's a Brooklyn Net right now. He's with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, two elite scorers. Obviously, the Nets still need to figure out their defensive problems, but two elite scorers he's with. They both have a championship ring, and James Harden doesn't. And we all know that's why that's why these NBA players make these decisions to make super teams and go to super teams. It's because they need a ring. Players like James Harden, they need a ring. So that is why James Harden has gone to the Brooklyn Nets. So out of these three, out of the big three, Kyrie, KD, and Harden is under the most pressure because he's the one without a ring. If he retires without a ring, we can't look at James Harden as an elite player. We can't look at him. Obviously, there's other players like Karl Malone who we still look at as one of the greatest power forwards of all time. But we can't put him at the top because he doesn't have a ring. And that's exactly what we're going to be saying about James Harden if he doesn't win a championship. Not even just getting to the finals is enough. You need to beat the Lakers in the finals. You need to beat them, especially in KD's point of view. You want to be better than LeBron. You got to beat LeBron. So there's a bit of pressure there. But even if KD loses to LeBron, that's fine. There's no shame in losing to LeBron James. But in James Harden's case, if they lose to LeBron, he's still without a ring. And I think if they don't win it this year, their chances lower the next year. So I think that they need to get to the finals and win it this year. If they, I said the same thing about the Clippers. If they don't do it this year, they won't do it next year. And the Brooklyn Nets are under pressure, but out of the whole team, James Harden is under the most pressure because he's the one that doesn't have a championship. So James Harden needs to get that under his belt so we can, when he retires, we can say, okay, at least he won one ring. We can put him up there with the elite scorers. We can put him up there along the elite players. We can have him as a top 5 player of all time. But if he doesn't win a ring, we can't put him up there. We can't do that. We can't say James Harden is a top 5 player once he retires because he didn't have a ring. He needs to win a championship. He's under the most pressure on this Nets team to win a ring. He has the MVPs. We know he's one of the best scorers of all time. We know he's one of, if not the best scorer in Houston Rockets history. We know he's an elite playmaker. But again, the NBA, there's one goal that every NBA player has in mind, and it's winning a championship. I'm not even saying that he has to win the finals MVP. He needs to win a championship, period. And then once he retires, we can say James Harden is one of the best shooting guards or point guards, or we'll just say player because I don't even know what position to put James Harden at right now. But when he retires, if James Harden wins a ring, we can say that he is one of the best players that we've ever seen pick up a basketball and play the game. But if he doesn't win a ring, we can't say that. And it doesn't get any more simple than that. So yeah, I think James Harden is under the most pressure. So moving on from basketball, for a minute, WWE's Friday Night SmackDown is tonight. So, what are my expectations for SmackDown tonight? I think that we might see Edge again. I think Edge is gonna make an appearance again. I don't think he made an appearance on NXT, not from what I saw. I didn't watch NXT. I watched AEW on Wednesday, and then I left. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I left because it got boring. I'm not going to lie. I did see where Sammy Guevara left the Inner Circle, so that was pretty interesting. But I saw clips of the main event on Instagram and all that. But I barely watched wrestling on Wednesday. I was just relaxing, to be honest. Not going to lie to y'all. But my expectations for SmackDown tonight, obviously this rivalry with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns is still not finished, and I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. If they have another match with KO and Roman Reigns, it's just going to be pointless. Because what's the point in having another match between these two if you're still going to make Roman retain? And if Kevin Owens wins the title, if they verse again, it doesn't make sense. This whole Edge-Roman Reigns thing doesn't make sense. And Edge facing Drew McIntyre doesn't make sense. Or him facing Finn Balor doesn't make sense. So I don't know why they keep putting Roman Reigns and KO against each other because it's not making sense at this point. I thought the rivalry was finished at the Royal Rumble. So when Kevin Owens came out and attacked Roman from behind, I was confused because I was like, okay, I thought this rivalry was finished with. Now you're starting it up again. I'm not going to lie, WWE, I'm getting tired of this rivalry because it's starting to not make sense. Because, one, like I said, Roman Reigns, if you want to have Roman Reigns have the belt at Mania, what's the point in putting him against the same opponent? Put him up against a different opponent. If you put him up against, a Daniel Bryan at an Elimination Chamber, that's fine. I'll expect Roman to win that. But you keep putting him up against Kevin Owens, and no one's going to want to watch that countless times over and over again, especially that we know that Roman Reigns is going to win the belt. And like I said, too, if Kevin Owens wins the belt, it won't make sense. Edge versus Kevin Owens doesn't make sense. Edge versus Finn Balor, as much as, it'll be an interesting match, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense to have a spear versus spear match at WrestleMania. That's what makes sense right now. When Edge won the Royal Rumble, that's the first thing that came to mind. Roman Reigns versus Edge, spear versus spear. If that doesn't happen, WWE, I don't know what you are doing. I don't know at all what you guys are planning to do if you give Kevin Owens the belt and if you don't make Edge face Roman Reigns. Because this whole thing, doesn't make sense if you give the belt to Kevin Owens and Edge doesn't face Roman Reigns. It just doesn't make sense. Him against Drew McIntyre or Finn Balor, don't get me wrong, would be a good match, but the storyline that they're going with so far, it's not going to make sense because it would make more sense. You would get more ratings too if it was spear versus spear, Edge versus Roman Reigns. So that's my opinion, and a lot of other people feel that way as well. So I don't know where they're going with this. I hope this KO Roman rivalry is over with. Apparently it's not, because apparently they're supposed to have a confrontation tonight on SmackDown. But yeah, I don't know what WWE is going with this rivalry, to be honest. I just don't know, because it's getting kind of annoying at this point because it's a useless rivalry. It's just a throwaway rivalry like WWE usually does. So I really don't know the point of this rivalry. So I got this question on my poll, so I forgot who asked it. But appreciate the question. So where do you see LeBron James in 3 years? I still see him in the league. I'm not gonna lie, I still see him in the league. He wants to be the first player to play with or against his son. So, and I think Bronny gets drafted in 2024, and I think he becomes a free agent in 2023. So I think that he'll still be in the league. I don't expect him to be as fast and as powerful as he is right now, because a guy like his age can only keep that up for so long. I think within by the end of next year, this LeBron James that we're seeing right now is not going to be any longer. I'm not going to say that he's not going to be an elite player anymore. I'm just going to say he's going to go back. He's going to go into that role-playing position, because how long can he really do these dunks, these monstrous dunks, and play at this level? Run, faster than these young kids that are coming in. How long can he compete with these guys that are coming in? Don't get me wrong. LeBron James is a top 2 player of all time. And he's my favorite player. But he can't keep this up forever. I get it. We've never seen a player like LeBron James. Him playing at this rate at 36, 37 years old, right? We've never seen it before. However, I don't think it's gonna last long. I think, like I said, by the end of next season, I think it's done with. I think he's gonna go back. He's gonna not go back, because he never was in a role-playing role, but I think he's gonna go into a role-playing position for other teams, and he's going to go play with Bronny for at least one season, whichever team he goes, because he's a free agent in 2023, and he's LeBron James. He can do whatever the hell he wants, right? Because he gets away with calls, like with the referees. He can do whatever he wants. He's LeBron James. His name is LeBron James. He can do what he wants. So he's going to wait until Bronny gets drafted to whatever team he does, and I think he's going to either go to the team he does, get Bronny to the Lakers somehow, or, maybe still play against his son. He's going to play one game against his son maybe, and then, he's probably going to call it a day, because he said he's not going to play till 40, or he said he's not going to play 10 more years in the NBA. I think he'll be done at least 40, 41. So I still see LeBron James in the league in 3 years. So where does Steph Curry rank in the MVP race right now? I think he ranks top 5 in the race right now, for sure. Steph Curry is playing insane. He's playing out of his mind right now. So when you look at, he's getting comparisons to him in 2015. He's having one of the best seasons of his career. 2015, he was an animal. 2015, 2016, he was an MVP candidate. And look at him now. I said it before the season started that Steph Curry is going to have an MVP candidate season. Some people didn't believe me. Some people did. I knew it because he's coming off an injury. He had to sit most of the season out. He only played, 3 to 5 games last season. So he's coming off that injury. He has all this energy left. I knew he was going to have an MVP candidate season, but not at this rate. Not at the fashion that he's playing right now. The brother dropped 40 last night, which I'll react to on my YouTube channel. But he's going off right now. He's completely going insane. And, nobody can stop him right now. He is the best point guard in the NBA right now. obviously I have Kevin Durant as number one in my MVP race, but Steph Curry is in that top five. He is in the top five MVP candidate race right now because the rate he's playing at, he's the best shooter we've ever known since mankind. He can do everything. His movement without the basketball is what makes him him. So that's what makes him such a great player. His movement without the basketball, that's what makes him and Klay Thompson so dangerous as well. Because you have Steph Curry moving all around the court. Plus you gotta watch out for Klay Thompson. So one of them's gonna be left open, and that's why they're so dangerous together. That's why they're the best shooting backcourt we have ever seen in the NBA. And you can't give me a better backcourt, a better shooting backcourt than them. I don't care who you give to me, right? So that's what makes them so dangerous. But I definitely do think that Steph Curry is a top MVP candidate in the league right now. Top 5 MVP. I would put him at I'd put him at 4 maybe. I'm not sure who I have ahead of him, but obviously there's Jokic, there's LeBron and KD. Maybe those 3 I'd put ahead of him and put Curry at 4. I'm not sure who I'd have at the 5th spot. Probably Joel Embiid at the 5th spot. Or also, those are my top 5 probably right now. I don't know if it's in that order, but those are my top 5 right now. So, but I think he'd rank 4th or 3rd right now in the MVP race right now, but definitely top 5 for sure. So another team that's doing pretty good. The Utah Jazz, who is one of the best teams in the West right now. So, are the Jazz the biggest threat for the Lakers? I'm still going to say no. I'm still going to say it's the Clippers because this is the regular season. We've seen this before. We've seen the first seed in conferences get beat by the 8th seed in the first round. So, if I see this from the Utah Jazz in the playoffs, then maybe I'll change my mind. But right now, I'm still sticking with the Clippers. I still think that the Clippers, the Kawhi Leonard, after, having those commercials with the crown dangling from his car window, him saying that I run LA now, LeBron doesn't anymore, him saying all of that, and then losing in the second round, not to LeBron, to the Denver Nuggets is who he lost to. So, he has a lot to prove. Paul George, who has a lot to prove, who has also been playing, who's also an MVP candidate this year, and I knew he would be because he had all that criticism from social media. He had all of that going against him. He was dealing with some, mental health issues in the bubble, and I know a lot of players were because, it was a tough time, not seeing your families, all of that, just staying in one room the whole time. But Paul George is still playing out of his mind right now. Lou Williams hasn't got into the offense, but they still need a point guard. The Clippers still need a point guard, and that's what's hurting them right now. Because no disrespect to Patrick Beverley, but he's not going to get the job done playmaking-wise. Facilitating the floor, Patrick Beverley's not going to do that. You can have him come off the bench as an elite defender because that's what Patrick Beverley is. Patrick Beverley's a dog on the defensive end. But in terms of playmaking, shot making, facilitating the floor, Patrick Beverley is not that guy. They could have got Rajon Rondo, but the Atlanta Hawks offered him $10 million more, so he went over there instead. But I think that, no, I don't think that the Jazz are the biggest threats to the Lakers. I'm still saying that it's the Clippers, but because they have a lot to prove. Kawhi Leonard still has a lot to prove. If they don't get it done this year, they won't get it done at all. And mark my word, if the Clippers don't win it this year, they're not going to win it at all. So, and I said the same thing with the Nets. Even though they still might have a better chance than the Clippers next year, if they don't win it, they still could go to the finals next year because they still have a dominant team. But in the Clippers case, if they don't win, I'm not picking them to win it this year. I'm still picking the Lakers to go all the way because they have the best team in the NBA. But if the Clippers don't win it, if they don't win the chip this year, they won't win it at all. And this team will be a complete failure. Especially if they don't reach the conference finals. This is a failure. So, no, I don't think that the Jazz are the biggest threats because the Clippers need to prove that they can at least get to the conference finals, 1, and 2, beat LeBron James, which I don't think they will because he has Anthony Davis to back him up. He has a better Lakers team that he won the championship with. So, no, the Jazz are not the biggest threat to the Lakers. It's still the Clippers in the West, at least in the West. That, let's be specific here, in the Western Conference right now, it's the Clippers, and all of the whole league, it's obviously the Brooklyn Nets. But In the Western Conference, I'll still say it's the Clippers. Maybe you could put the Jazz behind them, but you also have teams like the Nuggets, who the Jazz still need to prove that they can beat in the playoffs. You have other teams as well. The Mavericks, who are pretty slow right now, but they'll still be there in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure. The Suns, Chris Paul and Devin Booker, I think they're gonna show up in the playoffs as well. I'm taking them to make the playoffs. I think this will be the first time Devin Booker makes the playoffs. So yeah, it's the Clippers that are the biggest threat to the Lakers right now. Now, still a 25-minute podcast, even though I felt like I talked a lot. Um, but yeah, that's actually gonna wrap it up for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. I'll still be here on Monday, even though it's a long weekend. I'll still be here, still working. But yeah, make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel. Instagram, guys, you already know it's on my link in bio. Facebook, guys, it's on my feed. So yeah, be here Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Happy Friday, y'all. If you guys are watching SmackDown tonight, if you guys are watching NBA games, enjoy it. And, maybe we'll get more news over the weekend. Take it easy, y'all. I'm out. Have a fun and safe weekend. Peace.